With the 2024 NFL Draft just a couple months away, it's time for me to start working on these 2024 draft class career sims, and today we're going to start off with none other than Caleb Williams, the potential top quarterback in this upcoming class. In this video, we're going to sim his career in Madden and find out if Caleb can become the generational talent that he's hyped up to be. But first, we got to see what team drafts Caleb Williams, and already we're at pick 3, and Williams has not been selected, where he will definitely be selected in the top 3 in real life. But I guess all these teams want to pass on him. Joe Alt to the Patriots, Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Cardinals. We got the Chargers. They're going to take Jerzon Newton. Could the Giants select Caleb Williams? No, they'll take an offensive tackle. What about the Titans? No, Brock Bowers. It looks like Caleb Williams is going to go to the Atlanta Falcons at number 8, and that's where Caleb Williams will start off his career as a member of the Falcons, which honestly is not a bad team to go to. We're about to check out the roster here in just a moment. But yeah, Caleb Williams falls to pick 8. And he falls to a solid Falcons team. He's got some very solid offensive weapons around him. He's got Bijan Robinson, superstar running back. Weapons like Drake London, Odell Beckham Jr., Curtis Samuel, and X-Factor tight end Kyle Pitts. On the defensive side, you got Grady Jarrett, A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, a couple new guys, and Jordan Burch and Newsome at corner. So this Falcons team has some potential with Caleb Williams under center. The star of the franchise. We'll check out him real quick. 21 years old, 6'1", 95 throw power, a big arm, 87 speed as well, so he can do it with the legs. He's only going to get better with those accuracy stats, hidden dev as well out of the draft. Williams could be the franchise savior for the Falcons. So we're here in week 1, and we're going to go ahead and sim Caleb's first career game against the Minnesota Vikings and see how Caleb does in his debut. And a 41-0 win to start off the Caleb Williams era in Atlanta. Caleb threw for 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 242 yards. Seems like Gardner Minshew did the main work for Atlanta, as Bijan Robinson ran for a couple touchdowns, OBJ leading the team receiving this week. But Gardner Minshew throwing 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions seems like the main reason why the Falcons won. Caleb played solid in his debut for sure, but Minshew with a 10.3 passer rating made it pretty easy on the Falcons. So Caleb wins in week 1. And now we get to the week 11 bye week, and the Falcons are doing very solid, sitting at a 6-4 record, second in the division. Looks like Caleb came off a 4-touchdown performance in his last game. And on the season, Caleb Williams, 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, only 2,059 passing yards. But Caleb is absolutely lighting it up right now. Odell and Drake London, the leading receivers on the team. A little bit of Kyle Pitts with 7 touchdowns on the season. But Caleb's lighting up the league right now. Quentin Newsome is new, second member of the secondary, having a good rookie year. But this is about Caleb, and Caleb is playing extremely well thus far. 23 touchdowns, and that is definitely one of the top touchdown totals in the league for Caleb Williams, who's absolutely killing it right now. Looks like Caleb is tied for second in the league in passing touchdowns as a rookie. For the awards at midseason, Caleb is currently in the thick of the MVP race, sitting at number 6 as a rookie. Again, Caleb is going crazy in his rookie year. Bijan is in the Offensive Player of the Year mix, helping Caleb out in the run game. And Caleb right now has Offensive Rookie of the Year on lock. Rome Odunze, his division rival, not too far behind, but I think Caleb is probably a lock for the award. If he can somehow get the Falcons to the playoffs especially, what a turnaround. We're going to sim to the playoffs. Can Caleb Williams get the Falcons to the playoffs in year number 1? Yes, he does. A 10-7 record and an NFC South division title for Caleb Williams in his rookie year. He's already got the Falcons playing playoff football. Caleb finishing with not too many passing yards, only 3,400 yards. But Caleb with a sensational passing touchdown ratio, as he's got 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. An incredible year for Caleb Williams, one of the top QBs in terms of passing touchdowns as just a rookie in this league, and he is dominating the league already. Again, a 39-7 TD ratio into interception ratio is insane. No one eclipsed 1,000 yards in the Falcons, but Drake London got really close. In the MVP race, Caleb actually finished 8th in the MVP race in his rookie year. Not too bad. Definitely expect him to collect a couple MVPs in his career. No Offensive Player of the Year for Caleb Williams, though. And Rookie of the Year goes to Caleb easily. So, time for the playoffs. See if Caleb can get the Falcons to the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, in Caleb Williams' playoff debut, the Falcons fell short to the Dallas Cowboys, 26-14. We'll check out Caleb's stats from his first career playoff game. A couple interceptions from Caleb. He threw for 291 yards, so not bad. Bijan Robinson had to slow down the ground. And overall, the Falcons just didn't do too great in their playoff game, but there will be many more to come. So we're just going to go ahead and sim to next season and see what moves the Falcons make in the offseason. And it looks like they made some pretty big ones, as Caleb Williams up to superstar dev, Bijan Robinson superstar, but the main addition is drafting 77 overall Evan Stewart out of Oregon. Massive target for Caleb this year. Could be the number one target for the Falcons for many years to come, pairing Caleb with a star in Evan Stewart. A couple other new guys on the defensive side, some rookies and things like that. And now we're at the Week 11 Atlanta bye week, and as you can see, they're absolutely cruising. The team's already up to an 85 overall with Caleb Williams at the helm, and they're 8-2, sitting atop the NFC South. Caleb has 16 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Once again, a fantastic touchdown-interception ratio. Bijan Robinson's having a strong season, 863 yards, 7 touchdowns. Caleb also adding a few touchdowns on the ground. Evan Stewart leading the team in receiving yards at the little past the midway point of the season. And for the MVP race, Caleb, once again, just like last year, sitting in the thick of it at number 6, along with fellow 2024 draft class mate Drake May. Them two are going to be stars for many years to come. Maybe one day we'll see a Falcons-Broncos Super Bowl with both QBs guiding their respective franchises. But it's time to go sim to the playoffs and see if Caleb can lead the Falcons to a strong finish, and he does just that. In just year number 2, Caleb Williams already has the Atlanta Falcons as the top seed in the NFC. Last year they made the playoffs as the number 4 seed and the division winner, and in just his second year, Caleb has elevated the team to 12-5 and a first round bye. So in 2 years with Caleb Williams, the Falcons have won the NFC South both years. Caleb Williams with 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, but it seemed like the Bijan Robinson show this year as he ran for nearly 1,500 yards, over 10 touchdowns. Evan Stewart put up a solid season, but it was Drake London who ended up, and Kyle Pitts who ended up leading the team in receiving. Caleb Williams once again finished in the middle of the MVP race for the second year in a row, so he wasn't able to win it, but he was able to be in that middle. And again, eventually Caleb will get there. And as for the best quarterback, Williams finished in second. So another playoff run coming for Williams and the Falcons. So here in round 2, Williams and the Falcons will be facing the 9-8 Rams. And as the 1 seed, the Falcons are heavy favorites in this postseason matchup against the Rams. Should be an easy win for Caleb and the boys, but we'll see. Rams could always pull off a crazy upset. And they end up shocking Caleb Williams and the Falcons. A 12-5 record, a number 1 seed, a first round bye, and a home playoff game. But Caleb Williams got beat by the LA Rams. A 17-13 loss, and Caleb Williams 3 interceptions in the playoffs. Not a good look for Caleb. Bijan Robinson did saw it on the ground, but Williams, horrible performance on the big stage. So now we're into season 3, and Caleb Williams is a superstar, along with Evan Stewart, who went up to superstar dev. You also got Bijan Robinson as superstar, Kyle Pitts X Factor. Chase Basantis takes over at left tackle out of Texas A&M. So offense looks pretty solid. The defense, though, looks pretty good, honestly. I mean, you got A.J. Terrell and Quentin Newsome at corners. Jesse Bates is still really good. And they drafted this new linebacker, Prince Umaniolan, and he's looking like a really solid prospect for the Atlanta Falcons. Could be a key piece of their defense. They signed DeMarcus Lawrence. Another good year for Atlanta is expected, and potentially their 3rd straight NFC South title. We'll see how it all shakes out. So we're going to sim and see how Caleb Williams' year number 3 goes. We're going to sim to about the bye week and see how Atlanta is doing. And at the bye week, the Falcons are cruising to a 7-1 record. They are dominating the NFL, one of the most dominant teams in the league so far. Caleb Williams, again, the numbers aren't eye-popping. 14 touchdowns, 5 picks, only 1,600 yards in the season. But the Falcons are riding Bijan Robinson to victory. He's averaging almost 100 yards per game. Drake London and Evan Stewart have become one of the league's most dominant receiving groups. They've been both really, really good. And the defense for the Falcons has been one of the better defenses in football, along with the offense. In the MVP race, Caleb Williams, once again, he's usually in the middle of it, but I guess here he's not. So it looks like Caleb is not a part of the MVP race this year. And the Offensive Player of the Year, you can check out the NFC here. Bijan Robinson is in the middle of that race. Arch Manning, Rookie of the Year, along with C.J. Baxter. Dante Moore is the new quarterback for the Rams. See if he can knock Caleb out of the playoffs. We'll see. That'd be an interesting battle between those two. As we're at Wild Card Weekend, and the Atlanta Falcons are 15-2. Dominant season for Caleb Williams and the Falcons. Another 1 seed easily in the conference, and a really dominant season for Atlanta. Offense and defense are both looking good. They're definitely the Super Bowl favorites going into the postseason. And we'll see if they can make the Super Bowl run. Caleb and the Falcons have been dominant in his 3 years so far. Their record's been phenomenal. We'll see if Caleb can get the Falcons to the Super Bowl in his 3rd season. Bijan Robinson had a phenomenal season, ran for over 1,500 yards. Good season for Stewart and Pitts. Defense was pretty good this year. DeMarcus Lawrence was a great addition to the team, and A.J. Terrell had a ton of interceptions in that secondary. Check out the yearly awards here in the MVP race. Look at Arch Manning already in the MVP race as a rookie. Caleb Williams ended up cracking the top 10, so good for Caleb. Offensive Player of the Year, Bijan Robinson was in the thick of the award race, and I think that's all for the awards here. We'll see where Caleb ended up in the best quarterback section. As check out a lot of Longhorns in there. That's pretty good to see. But in the quarterback, Caleb ended up at 6th. And they once again are facing the 8-9 LA Rams. Can the Rams pull off a shocker once again? I mean, at this point, Caleb Williams is now starting to get the playoff choker label. The 8-9 Rams defeat Caleb Williams for the 2nd year in a row. So back-to-back years, the Rams come in as an extremely low seed, and they knock off the Falcons. Caleb Williams got sacked 7 times, so the offensive line was an absolute catastrophe for Williams. So that's not really on him, but this is absolutely shocking. A 15-2 regular season record and another home playoff loss to the LA Rams, who, it must be said, are quite the playoff performers. I mean, I'm pretty sure they made the Super Bowl last year in the NFC after going at 9-8. So another disappointing year for Caleb. And we'll head into year 4. Williams is officially up to a 91 overall. Evan Stewart, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts surrounding Caleb Williams. So again, the weapons should be good for Williams once again this season as he tries to get over that divisional round hump heading into year 4. The defense doesn't look as good though. No more DeMarcus Lawrence. The linebacking core looks a lot worse. I don't know, man. The Falcons, the secondary is still pretty good, but I don't know how the Falcons are going to do this year. Don't see them repeating that 15-2 record that they had last season. But we'll head to midseason and see how they're doing. And at the Week 10 bye, the Falcons are in absolute free fall. A 2-7 record for the Atlanta Falcons this year. This is horrible to see. After making the playoffs 3 years in a row, they are looking at a potential top 10 or top 5 draft pick. Bijan's still playing well. Evan Stewart is a solid amount of yards. No touchdowns, though, for the Oregon product. On the defensive side, again, the defense is not looking too great. So we'll check out the awards, but I doubt any Atlanta Falcons will be in this award section. But who is Desmond Ridder, the former Falcons quarterback, is in the thick of the MVP race. So just to add salt to the wound, a 2-7 season, and then seeing the former quarterback, Desmond Ridder, in the thick of an MVP race. But somehow, someway, in the second half of the season, Caleb Williams and the Atlanta Falcons went on a run of a lifetime to finish 9-8 in the second half of the season. And just to show you guys, there's no forced wins for me. It was all just Caleb Williams making it happen. I didn't rig anything. Caleb Williams got the Falcons there. The defense got them there. And Bijan Robinson really turned it up in the second half of the season. Him, Nick Singleton, and Caleb Williams all ran for a lot of touchdowns. Evan Stewart went for 800 yards. And a phenomenal run from the Atlanta Falcons, who at one point were looking like they were in free fall and a potential top 10 pick coming their way. They somehow end up winning they didn't end up winning the division, but they did end up making the playoffs with a 9-8 record. Absolutely shocking. But for the first time in Caleb Williams' career, he'll have to go on the road in the playoffs. Can Caleb get his first playoff win? He does. He takes down the Chicago Bears, and Caleb Williams has finally erased the playoff record, the no wins on his playoff career record. He is now 1-3 in the postseason. And we'll check out his stats from the game. He played a phenomenal game against Arch Manning and the Chicago Bears. 335 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Bijan Robinson added solid contributions in the receiving and rushing game. He played phenomenal. But Caleb Williams gets it done, and now they'll have to face the Dallas Cowboys, the team that eliminated Caleb Williams in his rookie year. Can Caleb get revenge a couple years later? No, he will not. A 31-24 loss to the Cowboys, and the Falcons, who had a phenomenal and improbable run to the postseason in year number 4 of Caleb Williams' career. They were not able to get to the conference championship. So 4 years into Caleb Williams' career, he still has yet to make a conference championship despite 4 playoff appearances. He didn't even play bad in this game. Bijan Robinson played really well, but the Cowboys' run game, they added 3 touchdowns on the ground, and they are winners of this game. So heading into year number 5, Williams, will he sign the big contract in Atlanta? Yes, he will. Caleb Williams, as you can see, signed a 5-year, big time mega deal contract with the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to be making almost $60 million by the time his contract is up. So the Falcons didn't even give him the 5th-year option. They didn't even give Williams a chance. They signed him after his 4th year with the team. They decide he's the franchise quarterback, and he'll be the quarterback going forward. So here is the team going into year number 5, and the team is doing okay. 5-5 record at midseason. Williams, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's not having a great season. Bijan is, though. He's having a phenomenal season as usual. And Williams, after signing the big contract, really not putting up the type of numbers you want to see. And the team ended up falling apart completely in the second half of the season. They went 5-5 at midseason and finished at 6-11. So they lost almost all their final games of the season. And Williams had the worst season of his career, throwing double-digit interceptions for the first time with only 18 touchdowns. Bijan played great, had 22 touchdowns. He was incredible. I think he did end up winning Offensive Player of the Year. Kyle Pitts was solid, but overall a lackluster season for Caleb Williams. And even though he signed a Supermax contract in the offseason where he's going to be making an insane amount of money, there were questions going into this offseason about Caleb Williams' future in Atlanta. He's played with the franchise 5 years now. He's only managed to win 1 playoff game. He's not putting up the type of numbers he wants to. And we all know in real life, Caleb Williams likes to move on. He likes to, if things aren't going his way, he will potentially move places. So Williams, as you can see, the Falcons are in the yellow and red on his biggest morale things. He wants to play for a winning team with historic culture. He's at 50 morale right now. The Falcons are obviously not meeting his needs. And so, if things don't go well in this final season, which they're currently going awful, 1-9 record, this could be the end of Caleb Williams' tenure in Atlanta. And right now, at a 1-9 record, it's getting really bad. And I'm not even, nothing's even happening with me. I'm not messing with the sim at all. The team is just really, really bad. And Caleb Williams at a 1-9 record, there are serious questions about his future as an Atlanta Falcon. The team's an 87 overall, but they just are flat out awful. I don't know what's going on with them this season. Williams is playing solid, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Bijan's still playing great as usual, but I don't know what's wrong with this team. The defense might just not be good anymore, and Williams is also getting sacked a pretty solid amount. So if the Falcons don't turn things around the second half of the season, it's almost a certainty that Williams will be gone. And at a 4-13 record, yeah, it is most likely there's probably like a 75 to 80% chance Williams is playing for a different team. Just 2 years after signing that max contract, Atlanta is in absolute turmoil right now. And yeah, the team is just really, really struggling right now. They have been awful on the field. And as you can see in the top right corner, they also have a negative $22 million balance. So the team's also in financial turmoil right now. And all of this leads to the factors of Caleb Williams, as you can see left, right corner, negative $22.6 million from the Falcons. They're in financial turmoil right now. There's no way they're going to be able to keep Caleb Williams. So we're going to head to the offseason, and it is official. Caleb Williams has officially requested a trade out of Atlanta. The Cowboys, Packers, and Giants are all teams involved. So as we head into the offseason, the story that's dominating the NFL is where will Caleb Williams be traded? As we looked at his situation earlier, Williams obviously very unhappy in Atlanta. He's played in the NFL for 6 years. His career win percentage for his head coach is 50%, which is not something he likes. He does have a big offer from the team, but the historic championships is not there. The Falcons have been a historically awful franchise. Williams wants to go play for a historic franchise, a big market team like the Cowboys or the Giants. So it seems like those are the two teams. Williams also has a no trade clause in his contract, so if he wants to be traded, he will have to waive the no trade clause. And one team that really seemed to come up in these negotiations was the Giants. The Giants have made the last 2 Super Bowls in this franchise. They've had a great run as of late. They've had a lot of success. They're also the big market, the Big Apple, and that became the team that Caleb Williams wanted to go to. The attention directed to New York. He wanted to play in the big market for the team that made the last 2 Super Bowls. So he ended up waiving his no trade clause and demanded a trade to the New York Giants. And this is the mega deal that went through. Caleb Williams is going to New York, 3 first-round picks, and the Giants franchise quarterback Drake Gray. And Caleb Williams is officially a New York Giant. After 6 years in Atlanta, he'll be going to the Big Apple. So this is the Giants team that Caleb Williams will be playing for, and honestly, it's a pretty solid squad. I mean, obviously, they made the last 2 Super Bowls in this sim. Calhoun and McMillan out to his left and right at wide receiver with a solid tight end in Garrison Thomas. Bullet at running back, and a pretty good offensive line as well. 2 really good tackles in Thomas and Faga. And then on the defensive side, this is where the Giants have made their money. One of the best defenses in football. X-Factor corner Chase Son along with Domani Jackson and Deontay Banks. 2 absolute stud defensive tackles in Dexter Lawrence and Walter Nolan. Both safeties are really, really good as well. Unfortunately, though, despite that great defense, the team is sitting at a 2-5 record heading to their Week 8 bye. And I really don't know how, because, yeah, that defense is loaded with talent. Caleb Williams, though, is having a really good season, leading the NFL in passing yards through Week 8. Bullet isn't really getting a whole lot done, though, on the ground. McMillan's having a great season, as well as Cedric Calhoun and Percy Moore. The passing game's been going well. The running game is not. Also, a lot of sacks being taken from Caleb Williams. So I don't really know what's going on with the Giants, because, yeah, that defense is loaded from top to bottom, but they've struggled a lot. And their struggles continued in the second half of the season as they finished with a 7-10 record and missed the playoffs. So a team that made the Super Bowl the last 2 years gets Caleb Williams and misses the playoffs. And this is a big concern because, remember, the Atlanta Falcons have the next 3 first-round picks from the New York Giants. So that's a pretty big deal. Caleb Williams did end up having a good season, throwing for over 4,000 yards, 2 1,000-yard receivers in McMillan and Calhoun. And the defense, I mean, he had good defense, a lot of pressure, lots of sacks. I don't know what went wrong for the Giants this year. Caleb Williams finished 4th in the MVP voting, though. So he had a good season. Caleb had a good statistical season. The Giants just did not have a good year. I don't know what happened to them. They just had a bad season despite that great defense. Heading into the next year, though, Caleb Williams, after coming off arguably the best season of his career statistically, he is now a superstar. X-Factor is obviously really big for the Giants. On the defensive side, Dexter Lawrence also went up to X-Factor. They did lose Deontay Banks, though, so their defense might be getting a little worse this season, but they still got most of the main pieces. Interesting season coming up for the Giants in Caleb's second year with the team, and we'll see how the Giants do this year. Should be a solid team, but we'll find out. And at midseason, the Giants are currently sitting at a 2-4 record. Again, not exactly where they want to be at. Currently sitting at last place in a loaded NFC East division. And I don't know if you guys can see on that right side, but the Atlanta Falcons are currently sitting at 6-1. So Caleb's old team is having a very, very good season without him and with former Giants quarterback Jake Gray. This is what the stats are looking like. Percy Moore having a good season. Tataria McMillan's been dealing with injuries, hence why he only has 6 receptions on the year. So that's a big storyline to watch out for. If he's able to come back, maybe the Giants can go on a run. Caleb not throwing many interceptions, but not throwing for a whole lot of yards. And so, just like I said, just to make matters worse for the Giants, the team that they traded with, the Atlanta Falcons, doing very well. And the Giants ended the season last in the NFC East at 7-10. Now, I will say, the season wasn't necessarily all on the Giants. There were a lot of injuries, along with McMillan being out for a long time this year. They also dealt with some key injuries on defense to Walter Nolan and Kayvon Thibodeau, 2 of their best players. You see Caleb put up 30 touchdowns and 2 picks, so he had a great season. But yeah, the Giants had a lot of injuries on defense, as you're about to see. I mean, Walter Nolan only finishing with 9 TFLs and only 20-something tackles, and then Kayvon Thibodeau only 1 sack on the year, only making 7 tackles. A lot of injuries for the Giants this year, but again, every year that they do worse, the Falcons keep getting better picks, as Caleb finishes 5th in MVP voting. Yeah, the Falcons might go on a little dynasty run because of the Caleb Williams trade. 3 first-round picks, if you guys remember, went to the Falcons in that trade. And the Falcons are using those picks to build up a super team, as they're currently sitting at the #1 seed in the conference. So we're heading into next season, and it'll be interesting to see how year 3 goes for Caleb Williams and the Giants. But something interesting did happen last year, and that was the Atlanta Falcons won their first ever Super Bowl. I showed you guys just a little bit ago, the Falcons were the #1 seed in the conference, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So a massive blow to the Giants, as the team that they traded Caleb Williams from, the team that they took Caleb Williams from, ended up winning the Super Bowl. So definitely a bad reflection on Caleb, who, after leaving the franchise 2 years ago, they're now Super Bowl champions without him. So definitely a sting to him. Also a big loss for the Giants is Dexter Lawrence no longer in the middle. And however, the Giants are still playing very well without him. 4-2 record at midseason despite losing their best defensive player, and Caleb's having a phenomenal season, probably the main reason why. 18 touchdowns, 1 interception, currently leading the league in passing yards, or actually leading the league in passing touchdowns and second in passing yards. And he continued that great stretch into the second half. The Giants made the playoffs with a 10-7 record. Falcons also made the playoffs, just keeping an eye on them. And Caleb by far had the best season of his career. 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That is exactly why the Giants traded all of that for Caleb Williams. He had a phenomenal season. But they didn't pay for Caleb Williams to be a great regular season player, as he did finish second in the MVP voting, just missing out on that illustrious reward to Lamar Jackson. They need him to be great in the postseason. So we'll see if Caleb can win his second career playoff game here against the Minnesota Vikings, and he does. A 20-17 victory over the Vikings, and Caleb Williams has won his first career playoff game with the Giants, his second overall. Didn't play crazy, only threw a touchdown, but he got the win. Now I'll have to go against the Cowboys, who have beaten him twice in the playoffs already, and they've done it again. Caleb Williams loses his third career playoff game to the Cowboys. He's 0-3 against the Cowboys. Got sacked 7 times in this loss to Dallas, and tough loss for Caleb. He still hasn't made a conference championship. But despite that, it doesn't even matter. The Giants still decide to give Caleb a massive extension. He's going to be making over $60 million in the next couple of years. And there's the team going into the season. Williams still an X factor. He's got a superstar tight end in Thomas, Cedric Calhoun, superstar. On the defensive side, you got Caden Bullock and Domani Jackson still providing a solid secondary. But it doesn't matter. The team is still bad. A 2-5 record at midseason. And pretty much the story of Caleb Williams' Giants tenure. A lot of disappointing seasons for him. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions at the midseason mark. Brandon Bullitt doing solid. Tatora McMillan having a good year. Cedric Calhoun, kind of a down year. And the team ended up bottoming out and finishing 6-11. Once again, last in the NFC East. And yeah, just another bad season for Caleb Williams and the team. It just has been a tough tenure for him. I mean, he almost threw for 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 5 picks. Numbers weren't all bad. Ran for 5 touchdowns as well. And he had a couple 1,000-yard receivers. McMillan and Calhoun are a really good duo. In the MVP race, Caleb finished in the top 10 at number 9. So Caleb usually able to squeak into that top 10 race. Also was in the middle of the Offensive Player of the Year race as well. And checking on best quarterback here. Caleb also was in top 4 for best quarterback, but the team didn't make the playoffs. Heading into next year, Caleb's still an X factor, but Thomas went down. Calhoun's still superstar, and McMillan is regressing very quickly. And the team is once again 2-5. I mean, it seems like they're 2-5 almost every year at midseason. Williams, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks. Usually throws way less than that, but there you have it. And once again, the team completely bottomed out at 3-14. So the team is awful. Caleb and them, look at that defensive numbers. They're the worst defensive team in football. That defense is absolutely awful. Williams actually did run for 9 touchdowns this year. But yeah, now that we're getting into his age 30 season, the sim is starting to go a little bit faster. We're going to start showing a little less in between each season, a little less detail. Unless Caleb and the Giants make a crazy run. With the way the team's been performing, it doesn't really matter how much we show, as Caleb is once again the MVP race, and he's going to finish pretty high in the Offensive Player of the Year race because of all those rushing touchdowns. But heading into these next couple years, these will be the final years of Caleb Williams' contract. I think he's on the last year of his deal, so we'll see if Caleb stays in New York after this season. So yeah, heading into this final season, Caleb Williams could be out of New York after the season is over. This is what the team's looking like heading into this season. But currently the Giants are sitting at 6-1 atop the NFC, and this is easily the best team that they've had since Caleb Williams has come to the Big Apple, and Williams having career best stats, leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. So Williams and the Giants are having a legendary season. Caleb also averaging 4 touchdowns on the ground, adding a couple of those. And this team could make a run at the Super Bowl for the first time in Caleb Williams' Giants career. And for once, they finished the season with a winning record, a 12-5 record. And there's no game for them this week because they earned the number 1 seed in the NFC, which means they'll be heading to Wild Card Weekend. They'll skip that over. Caleb had a great season, threw for over 4,000 yards and 33 touchdowns, added 5 touchdowns on the ground. Brandon Bullitt went for over 1,000, as did Calhoun. And Caleb finished up this career year with a second place finish in MVP, but a first place finish in the Offensive Player of the Year race. and second and best quarterback. So Caleb arguably had the best season of his career. The Giants ended up as the 1 seed. And we'll see if Caleb can finally get the Super Bowl ring that's eluded him his whole career. We're going to head to next week. They're playing their division rivals, the Washington Commanders. Can Caleb go to his first career conference championship? And he does. He takes down the Commanders with a phenomenal performance. 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, outdueling other 99 overall X-Factor quarterback Connor Hall and the Commanders. Cedric Calhoun put up 3 touchdowns, and now Caleb will be playing his former team, the Atlanta Falcons, in a battle for the ages. We're going to hop into this game, and the Falcons start the scoring off with a touchdown from Drake Gray to Kyle Pitts. Williams in a 7-2 game. Somehow they got a safety. Here's Williams dropping back, firing to the end zone. It's caught. Garrison Thomas, the tight end, for the touchdown. And the Giants take a 10-7 lead late, middle of the second quarter. Williams has time, fires, and he's got his second touchdown to Garrison Thomas. And the Giants looking to go to the Super Bowl for the first time in the Williams tenure. They're leading 17-14 late in the first half. And Williams finds his man, Tremaine Hughes, in the end zone for the touchdown. And then late in the fourth quarter, a money drive for Caleb Williams and the Giants to go to the Super Bowl. Williams firing to the end zone. It's caught. It's Thomas strolling in for his third of the game. And that would do it. For the first time in Caleb Williams' career, he is going to the Super Bowl as he takes down his former team. Poetry in motion for Williams, who put up the best stat line of his career. 333 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he takes down the team that he requested to trade for many years ago to make his first Super Bowl. That's just poetry in motion right there, man. Caleb Williams had himself a moment on that field, finally getting the Giants over the hump. And Caleb Williams and Garrison Thomas, quite the duo. 3 touchdowns for Garrison Thomas. And now the Giants will be going to the Super Bowl. Caleb Williams didn't ever think he'd get there, but he'll be playing the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. So this is what it's looking like. The playoff bracket is concluded. The Giants have gone on quite the run. This is what the Super Bowl roster is looking like. Caleb up to a 98 overall X-Factor for the Super Bowl. Cedric Calhoun up to superstar. And on the defensive side, Domani Jackson, Eric Richards at linebacker, Caleb Downs. And here we go. The Super Bowl is about to get underway. And as you can see from the promo, that is Patrick Mahomes. At age, I think, 39 or 40, he signed with the Buffalo Bills. And he will be facing off against Caleb Williams. It's a generational battle. Williams versus Mahomes. 2 quarterbacks who are veterans. Mahomes looking to solidify his GOAT status, and Caleb Williams is looking to get that ring that's eluded him his entire career. Mahomes is an easy first ballot Hall of Famer. With a Super Bowl ring today, Caleb Williams might solidify his Hall of Fame career. Everything's on the line for these franchises. 4th and 2 on the opening drive. Williams converts the first down, hitting his man on the outside, Hayden, for the first down. 2nd down and goal here in the first quarter. Williams hands it off to his running back, Henning, who spins off a tackle, and the Giants open up the scoring in the Super Bowl. And then up 7-0, start of the second quarter. The game's been going by pretty slow this far. It's Williams taking the snap in shotgun, looking around, firing over the middle, pass caught, touchdown to the number 1 receiver, Cedric Calhoun. In a 14-7 game, Williams firing outside, hits Garrison Thomas, who spins off a tackle, and Garrison Thomas is going to go all the way. Touchdown, New York, and Caleb Williams, 24-17, 4th quarter, Mahomes, touchdown to tie the game. He came back from down 14, and the Bills are going to tie the game. But if you look at this play, I don't think that the receiver caught the ball. But you know it's Patrick Mahomes, and the NFL wants Mahomes to win. So you know that they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But Caleb Williams still has a chance to win the Super Bowl and silence all of his haters. This throw is caught over the middle of the field for a first down, and this field goal could put the Giants ahead. The kick is up, and it is money. All they need is one stop on Patrick Mahomes, and they'll be Super Bowl champions. Easier said than done. Mahomes dropping back, and he's intercepted by the Giants, and that is going to do it. Caleb Williams on the sideline the moment he realizes he is a Super Bowl champion. He's been in the NFL over a decade. He's never even made a conference championship, but tonight, Caleb Williams is a Super Bowl champion. Many people doubted him and said that he would never get to this point. And when he was traded from the Falcons to the Giants, many people thought that he would never reach this spot, and the Giants lost that trade. But tonight, all that draft capital the Giants gave up is worth it. Caleb Williams got them to a Super Bowl. He outdueled Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he's 40 years old, but he still outdueled Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And as you can see, the moment he's waited for his whole career, he's going to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. And Caleb Williams is a Super Bowl champion, putting what could be the final little spot on his resume that he was missing to make the Hall of Fame. A dominant performance in the Super Bowl with 2 touchdowns. And the Giants, for many years, they waited and they finally have their 5th ring. Ryan McLean, Super Bowl MVP, and Caleb's the Super Bowl champion. So this is what the defending Super Bowl champions roster is looking like. Caleb's still a 94 overall. Calhoun's a superstar. Thomas is looking good. And the Giants are looking to repeat. At midseason, they're at about a 3-4 record. Kind of mediocre. Caleb having one of the worst seasons of his career. The only 5 touchdowns at the midseason point. And only a couple touchdowns on the ground. Calhoun's not playing very well. Overall, this Giants team just isn't having a great season, which is to be expected. Caleb is 34 years old. He's getting a lot older. The team ended up missing the playoffs again, an 8-9 record, not anything crazy. 19 touchdowns for Caleb Williams. I think that's probably a career low for him. Just not a great season. Brandon Bullitt ran for a lot of touchdowns, as did Caleb. 5 touchdowns, not bad. But second half of the season, didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. Passing game was really slow. Don't expect Caleb to be in any of the awards as Connor Hall. This dude has been incredible Caleb's whole career. Them two have been going at it in the NFCs for quite some time. Hall looks like he's going to sweep the awards here, although Caleb did manage to sneak into the top 10 for Offensive Player of the Year. And now we're into next season. Caleb's down to a 92 overall. Calhoun is down to star dev. And as you can see, Caleb, 35 years old, been in the league 13 years, keeps signing these 1-year contracts to stay in New York. So we're at the home stretch of the sim here. His career is almost over. The Giants are signing guys like Travis Hunter now, which is pretty interesting. And in midseason, once again, 3-4, as they are many of these years. Not really a great first half team. And Caleb having a better season, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1,600 yards, adding a touchdown on the ground as well, not too bad. And at the end of the season, the Giants actually made the playoffs, an 11-6 record. They'll be going against Arch Manning and the Chicago Bears in round 1. Caleb threw 26 touchdowns, 2 picks, added 4 touchdowns on the ground. And in the MVP race, once again, Connor Hall wins. But Caleb Williams in the top 4 for MVP, not too bad. Don't think he's ever going to get an MVP in his career. Connor Hall is just too good. As finishes 3rd in Offensive Player of the Year. Connor Hall probably going to sweep the awards again this year, as he does. We'll see if Caleb can take down the Bears. They took him down many years ago, but we'll see if Caleb can do it here. And he does. Takes down Arch Manning and the Bears, one of Caleb's biggest rivals in this sim. And Arch Manning falls to Caleb Williams. And now their next round will be going against the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, we know there's a lot of history between Caleb and the Falcons, his former team that drafted him, the team that he beat in the conference championship on the road to his first Super Bowl. A new chapter will be written in this Falcons-Giants rivalry. Who will come out on top in this divisional round game? It's the Falcons who come out on top. Jake Gray, the guy the Giants traded for Caleb Williams. Obviously, we talked about the storyline a lot. He played phenomenal in this game. 3 touchdowns, no picks. And honestly, not a bad game for the Giants receivers, but at the end of the day, wasn't enough. Heading into next season, now fair warning, this is where the sim is about to start getting really fast, really about to start picking up the pace. Caleb's almost 40 years old. And he's actually stayed above 90 overall, so he's having quite a career. Very long and lengthy career, like Tom Brady type stuff here. Obviously not as good. This is the team that he's working with. And we're already at the end of the 2038 season. The Giants finishing 8-9 and missing the playoffs. So yeah, these next couple seasons are about to go really fast. Once again, Caleb actually had a very good season. 34 touchdowns, 8 picks, threw for over 4,000 yards. A really good season. Adding 3 touchdowns on the ground, so still pretty mobile at his age. Him and Cedric Calhoun, that's a legendary duo. The best QB wide receiver duo in Giants history at this point. Him and Calhoun always making plays. Caleb, once again, Connor Hall winning an MVP. I believe that's his 3rd in a row, but Caleb finishing top 5. And in the Offensive Player of the Year race, he does get in there at number 7, sneaking into the race. And in the best quarterback race, I mean, it's Connor Hall every year, but Caleb was able to sneak in there in the top 5 as well. Heading into next season, this is the team. Garrison Thomas and Calhoun are both really, really low at this point. And overall, they're both at the tail end of their careers. Won't be too long before they're both gone. So maybe Caleb will end and exit the scene and hit retirement with them as they go 8-9 once again and miss the playoffs. Another year for the Giants not making the playoffs. Caleb threw for over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, so he's still very productive, one of the better QBs in the league. But still, the question's got to be asked, when is Caleb going to finally hang it up? With Calhoun and Thomas most likely heading out the door as, Connor Hall, another MVP. Caleb finishing second. Caleb's probably going to be the second best QB in this era, man. Connor Hall is just too good. The guy's sweeping the awards every single year, having one of the greatest runs we'll ever see from a quarterback. He's been dominating in Washington for a long time, and he's a Super Bowl champion. So we'll see if Caleb hangs up the cleats after this year. Well, Caleb will not be hanging up the cleats this year as he is still playing and still a superstar X Factor, so he will be sticking around for at least another season with the New York Giants. Team's alright. They got a couple good players on the defensive side. X Factor Quan Berry. Overall, pretty solid team. And they made the playoffs with a 12-5 record and a wild card appearance against the Detroit Lions, who've had some success against Caleb in the past. Caleb threw for 3,917 yards, a 30 touchdown season with only 2 picks at his age is extremely impressive. Morrison's his top receiver now, so that's pretty interesting. And in the yearly awards, him and the Lions quarterback actually finished in the top 3 in MVP voting, so definitely a battle of 2 stars in this matchup. Caleb came up just shy of offensive player of the year, and just shy of best quarterback to Jarrett Cage. And Jarrett Cage proved to be the better quarterback, not only during the regular season, but during the playoffs as he takes down Caleb Williams. Another year goes by and Caleb regresses a couple overalls, but he's still a superstar X Factor. Team drafted new wide receiver Peter Wakefield. Decent little receiver there. Unfortunately, the Giants did not make the playoffs this season, and Caleb Williams, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, so he threw a lot more interceptions this season. He's still putting up good numbers, but the end is near for Caleb Williams, and it will not be this season, though. He has officially regressed down to a superstar, and the team honestly just looks a whole lot worse. It's finally the end for Caleb Williams. He is 40 years old now. He has been in the NFL for forever, and he made the playoffs again, though. So after missing the playoffs, he makes the playoffs, winning the NFCs with a 9-8 record, going against the Detroit Lions, who bounced him from the postseason just a couple seasons ago. He'll be facing off against Jarrett Cage once again. Another 30 touchdown season for Caleb Williams. And yeah, so we're just going to sim and see if he can take down Jarrett Cage in this matchup. See if he can get revenge on him for not only stealing all the awards from him, but also the playoff matchup from a couple years ago. No, Cage gets the best of him once again. So heading into 2043, Caleb is barely the starter on the Giants anymore, down to an 83 overall. 41 years old. The guy's been playing in the league forever. At this point, I'm just waiting for the guy to retire. I mean, the team is bad. They've made the playoffs a couple times, but they're not looking too great heading into this season. We'll see if Caleb can still get them somewhere, but again, he's so old, man. We're going to really start swimming by quickly here. Season over. 4-13 record for the Giants, an awful year. Caleb Williams just continues to regress as he just continues to get older. He is not Tom Brady out here. Not a bad statistical season, though. Still threw for 28 touchdowns, only 5 picks. And, I mean, still was able to run the ball for over 500 yards. That's pretty impressive. Unfortunately, this guy is staying around one more year, 2044 season. And the reason why you're seeing the end of the 2044 season is because I thought Caleb was the backup. He's a lower overall than the other quarterback on the team, but somehow, some way, Caleb got the starting job. 78 overall, 42 years old. And this guy, who's a 79 overall with morale, not affecting him. But somehow Caleb got the starting job, ended up throwing for a few yards that season, a solid season. And that ended up being his final season in the league. Thankfully, Caleb Williams retired after a 21-year career in the NFL. Yeah, man, this was a long career, son. This dude played forever, what seems like forever. So, definitely had a great career, though. So, we'll go into the stats and awards and check out the legacy leaderboard. He finished 4th out of all the quarterbacks in his era. So, he was the 4th best quarterback of his era. Not bad, up there with greats like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and, of course, his arch nemesis, Connor Hall out in Washington. And these are the final stats that I added up as the video went along. I added up all the stats for Caleb Williams. He threw for over 80,000 passing yards, 588 touchdowns, only 128 picks with 67% completion percentage, 226.7 yards per game. Those counting stats end up being some of the highest in NFL history among active QB, among all the quarterbacks in history. So he actually put up some crazy counting stats. a decent amount of rushing yards, nearly 10,000, with 82 rushing touchdowns. And for the awards, a 7-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Best Quarterback, Offensive Player of the Year, and most importantly, a Super Bowl champion. And you didn't see in the video, but he made the Hall of Fame. What a career for Caleb.